Hi there and welcome to Capital View. The bugle has been sounded for the Delhi elections and the Aam Aadmi Party is in the headlines. And on this episode with me is Senior Leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, Yogendra Yadav. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
In the Lok Sabha elections, you contested 400 seats. You lost your deposits in about 97% of the seats. You won only just 4 seats. What lessons have you learned from your Lok Sabha performance? Is the Delhi election a do-or-die battle for you? Are you battling for your very existence?
I don't like these expressions of do or die. Mahatma Gandhi used it for 1942, but I don't normally use metaphors of this sort. Yes, it's a very crucial election for us. It's a comeback election for us. It is very important that we regain our foothold in Delhi, that we are seen to be a party which is viable, which has a, we are not seen to be a phenomena that came and went. We are very much around. So it's an election where we need to demonstrate that we are here to stay.
Has your view of politics changed in these last 13 months?
This I can say I've been very, very conscious of the enormity of challenge. We are out here to create nothing short of alternative politics. So the idea is not merely to create an alternative, a political alternative, but to have alternative kind of politics. That is a very long journey. Right. If you remember the very first day that I joined the Aam Aadmi Party and we had, we began the party, I said it's a 20-year journey. That you contest first time to lose, next to make others lose, and then to win. Now, to our fortune, we covered the first 2 steps in the first go. But that doesn't take away from how hard and long-term this journey is going to be.
And has your idealism, in a sense, been dissipated? Because we're seeing in the choice of your candidates, sometimes you are also looking at caste, you are also looking at region, you are also looking at winnability. So has a sense of realism replaced that heady idealism that you had earlier?
Let's separate caste, religion, and region and winnability. Region is a factor that everyone needs to look at all the time. People want to see their local person as a candidate, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You would like that. You wouldn't want someone staying 200 kilometers away from you to be your political representative. Caste, I don't think we have succumbed to. We do not look at caste as a principal factor. It so happens that if you pick up leaders...
Arvind Kejriwal as a Bania leader in some areas, are you not?
I mean, if anyone wanted to project Arvind Kejriwal as a Bania leader, they would need to look at the demographics of Delhi and see this is such a tiny minority which doesn't vote for us anyway. So that this was a casual remark Arvind had made, not this time, he's made it several times. There are remarks that he's made several times. Somehow this time they're all getting attention. He said, "Aap vyapari hai." This was a meeting of the business people, traders, majority of who are not Banias. And he said, "Main aapki problem samajhta hu, main Bania hu." Now you could say it's a casual remark. You could almost say it's a bit of stereotyping. But to say that he was appealing in the name of caste, that's clearly stretching it. Winnability, you said. Yes, that is something that anybody, what distinguishes Aam Aadmi Party from other similar failed experiments is that we want to combine idealism with viability.
Right.
Aam Aadmi Party managed to show that an alternative could possibly be viable. We cannot let go of viability.
But what about the integrity quotient, though? A number of your candidates have come from the BJP and Congress as well. So are you, in a sense, giving integrity, which was the hallmark of the Aam Aadmi Party, that you would only have squeaky clean candidates of integrity? Are you giving that a backseat for the sake of winnability?
I hope not. I really hope not. And we have one mechanism which has been invoked this time. Unlike any other political party in the country, we have an institution called Lokpal. So if there are questions about integrity of any candidate, I can appeal against that. An ordinary member of the party can go to the Lokpal and say, look, there are questions about integrity. I'm saying so clearly because this mechanism has been invoked and some of the candidates have been looked at. Integrity is something we cannot afford to lose because that's our only calling card. The day we lose integrity, how would we compete with these parties who have thousands of crores of rupees? With 3 crore rupees, with 5 crore rupees, can we possibly compete with them? The only way we can compete is by being different. And if we lose sight of that, if we lose that calling card, we have nothing else to offer.
Do you accept that there is a lot of discontent about ticket distribution?
There was discontent last time as well. There is discontent this time. I mean, there are kinds and kinds of discontent. There is one discontent that only goes on to show that your tickets are prized, that someone values your ticket. You know, if there is absolutely no discontent with who you give ticket to, it seems you are sort of contesting just for the sake of your name in history. So any serious party has some kind of discontent. Then there are serious questions about integrity. If you have those things and those questions come up, I should not be the one commenting on them, because they have gone to parties, Lokpal, who is the final arbiter of these things. So let those questions be decided there.
So when there is discontent, it goes to the Lokpal.
There are many committees, but the final arbiter of this party, unlike any other party in the country, in this party, a Lokpal, who is Admiral Ramdas, one of the most renowned persons in India's public life, his decision is binding even on the national convener of this party, which is not a provision I have seen in any political party of the country. So yes, there is discontent. Yes, we faced it last time as well. We faced it in Lok Sabha election as well, and we faced it this time. And we've given to an impartial mechanism of a kind that doesn't exist anywhere else to sift those things.
Let's come to a different aspect, the class constituency. 13 months ago, the middle class, the professional class, was very much with you. Are you willing to accept that today, 13 months later, that middle class, that professional class has gone squarely to the BJP?
Not squarely, but yes, there has been a shift of our class base. If you look at technically, because I've looked at this stuff more technically as well, when we did well in Vidhan Sabha election, we didn't win it though, but we had 29% votes. This was more like a pillar formation, which is from top to bottom. We had roughly the same proportion of vote in the top class, in the bottom class. With Lok Sabha election, already the process had started, that those who stayed with us were more from the bottom half. In the upper half, we lost out, especially in the upper quintile. We lost out very badly. That process has continued, that is to say consolidation at the bottom. In the last 4 or 6 weeks though, there is a distinct change. We are beginning to get back the middle class. Now remember, middle class are not in the middle of India's, in Delhi's distribution. Middle class is a euphemism for the top 20%, top 25%. We are beginning to come back there. We did suffer seriously. Yes, I'm saying to you, yes, we had a lot of difficulty. Even in campaigning in those areas, we had difficulties 3 months ago. But now
you had difficulty even campaigning in middle class areas.
Yes, our volunteers said people don't want to hear us. You know, at that time, at the peak, just post Lok Sabha election, at the time when Mr. Modi's popularity was at the peak, yes, in those classes, people said, we don't want to hear you. At the moment, that there was a moment in national history when people didn't want to even hear anything against Mr. Modi. Yes, our volunteers faced enormous difficulty, but the very same volunteers now say, no, now we are being invited to speak in those areas. So something is beginning to change.
Right. So you don't accept that there's a kind of class divide, that the BJP is getting the middle class and the aspirational class, and you are very much with the poor and the slum clusters and the Jhuggi Jhopri inhabitants. It's not that there is that kind of class divide.
I'm accepting that there is a class differential. I'm saying it is true that we are stronger in the bottom half than in the upper half. But the kind of sharp divide that existed 6 months ago is not the case anymore. It is evening out a little more than before. But having said all this, it is true that we are stronger in the bottom half than in the upper one.
Right. And is that because your economic narrative is still unclear? Because the feeling is that should you return to power, that you will again offer free power, free electricity, that you will resort to populism, which many believe is now disastrous for the economy. So do you believe that you need to have a clearer economic narrative this time than when you had earlier?
We need to have clearer policies on everything. We are a new party where people have come from very, very diverse directions. So on foreign policy, we need to be clearer. On gender question, we need to be clearer. On our response on communalism, economic policy is one clear example where we need to be more clear. I do not, however, see any connection between this and the so-called middle class vote. Because this talk about economic reforms and about this subsidies and this affecting popular vote, etc. Honestly, this is the concern not of the top 20%. It is the concern of the top 20% within the 20%, which is this is a 2 to 3% of our population which looks at it. And frankly, if you say what we are doing is populism, then tell me which party of this country does not do populism? BJP. What is the economic policy of BJP in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh? Why have they come back so often in Chhattisgarh? On the basis of PDS. You know, so look, we live in a country where the bottom 2/3 is poor by global standards, and politics has to address to the needs of this 2/3. Call it populism, call it democratic politics, call it by any name.
But when Modi calls you Naxalite, or he calls you leftist, or he calls you anarchist, then don't you feel that that tag of Naxalite or extreme left can cost you that middle class vote?
Different tags at different times. Mr. Modi used the word anarchist. The difficulty is that he doesn't quite understand what he's talking about, so it's all right. He didn't know that Mahatma Gandhi had called himself anarchist. I thought as a Gujarati at least he would know that. On Naxalite, I just thought it was meant to be a general thing about people who are, I thought it seemed to me that in his mind, Naxalism was an extension of anarchism and nothing else. I don't even know how much he would be able to tell one from the other. But seriously, the question about our being ultra-left, etc., has been posed largely by the pink press. I really think there is a serious disconnect between this section of opinion makers and the public opinion in this country, including the opinion of the middle classes. I have professionally studied public opinion in this country. It so happens that the dominant view of the pink press and a certain set of reformers is dominant only among the top 2% of this country. Beyond that, there is no one. And the economic reformists of that kind do not have a viable politics. They keep looking for a political party which would support them. India's politics, India's demography simply does not support that kind of politics that can exist on editorial pages.
Right.
It doesn't exist on the ground.
But it's just too unreal and too limited to a certain very elite
unconnected to the reality of our country, where 2/3 live below $2 a day.
Right. Is it an advantage for the BJP that it's in power at the center, and if it makes a bid for power in Delhi, is that not going to be an advantage? Are you willing to concede that the fact that the BJP is in power at the center with such a big majority gives it the upper hand in the states and in this election?
There are multiple advantages. One, of course, being in power gives you a sense of a tide working in your favor. Having won Maharashtra, Jharkhand, etc., of course they stood in a natural position of advantage. They have advantage also in that they could have used the last 8 months to do things for Delhi city using the Lieutenant Governor. And third, there is the advantage vis-a-vis the media. Capacity to buy media, capacity to coerce media, capacity to influence and persuade the media. The first two have failed, the third remains. The first two have failed because they somehow, for various reasons, they did not use that 7 months to do anything for Delhi city, which they can sell today. It failed because that sense of a tide working through these states and finally arriving in Delhi and sweeping through Delhi simply flopped on 10th of January with so much of hoo-ha about Prime Minister's rally, so much resources poured in. All you can manage is 25,000 people. You need to think afresh. And indeed, they have thought afresh. So the strategy has changed. But yes, I would concede that the third element continues to be there, that the government's influence on the media is simply so overwhelming, some of which legitimate, a lot of it illegitimate. It's there.
And that's what you're up against. That's what you're up against. You're up against the government's overwhelming influence in the media. Let's take a short break at this point and come back with lots more with Yogendra Yadav on Capital View. Welcome back to Capital View. Delhi elections are in the air and we are talking to senior leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, Yogendra Yadav. Kiran Bedi, your erstwhile ally in the Anna movement, is now in the BJP. Would you concede that this is something that is a big threat for you, and she could inflict a lot of damage because she does have that immense popularity among the middle class?
The fact remains that she was a good police officer. The fact remains that she was very unjustly denied the position of the top cop of Delhi city. All these are facts. I'm not too sure if bringing her at this stage is going to work. More importantly, the question in my mind is, what has forced the BJP to bring her here? What exactly is she doing here? If BJP thought she was the best candidate for CM's position in Delhi, they could have done it 6 months ago. They could have done it on Prime Minister's rally day, which was just the right day.
But now that she is there.
No, I'm just, the reason I wanted to pause and think about it is, why now? It seems to me that 10th of January was a day when BJP realized that something has gone massively wrong with the script. The state leadership is simply incapable. You are not winning election with these kind of characters, the Prime Minister must have thought. And second, more importantly, the manner in which this was being presented as Kejriwal versus Modi contest, and now that the BJP could see possible defeat on the walls, they thought it will reflect on the Prime Minister himself. So Kiranji is an insurance policy against the Prime Minister. You have to put someone there to ensure that a possible fallout doesn't affect the Prime Minister. That's what she's here to do. She's not here for an agenda. She's not here for her political leadership quality.
So you believe if the BJP loses, it will be the defeat of Kiran Bedi?
That's exactly what the BJP had done for Sushma Swaraj 15 years ago, if you remember. They had a bad government. Sushma Swaraj was brought in at the last minute and presented here. I really wish they didn't do it to women politicians.
With the kind of professional electorate of Delhi that exists, the urban aware professional electorate, will they not naturally gravitate to a Kiran Bedi?
Just precisely because of the reasons that you mentioned, they may also ask a few questions. They would say, okay, till yesterday you said all politicians are chore. What about this one? Till yesterday you said going from a movement to a political party is a betrayal. What about things now? And then Delhi's electorate, being precisely the sophisticated electorate that it is, aware that it is, they would also wish to know the blueprint. So we've repeatedly said the question is not about personality, the question is not about who is a nice person or not. I still believe she's a nice person.
Do you have a personal sense of betrayal that she has gone to the BJP? What do you feel personally about this?
It's a very, very uneven battle. I keep saying this is ये दिया और आंधी की लड़ाई, दिया और तूफान की लड़ाई है. And at this moment, you really wish that your colleagues were on this side rather than with that combination of money, might, media, which is being thrown at us. In that uneven light, in uneven battle, of course you miss your colleagues, and if you see one of them standing there, you feel what's happening there. When you see one of the
betrayed.
I wouldn't use the word betrayed. She did not join the party. From day one, she said she would not join Aam Aadmi Party. So in that sense, she's not an Aam Aadmi Party person who's moved away. But yes, she was party to that movement, which has given birth to this political party. And as I said, in moments of struggle, you do expect your former colleagues to be with us, or to be with you, or at least to acknowledge the fact that it is an uneven battle between a few who are fighting for truth and integrity and this massive force against which we are up.
But there are others who've done it as well. Shazia Ilmi, also your ex-party colleague, has gone over to the BJP and she said that the Aam Aadmi Party is a one-man show. It's got a high command culture. Has that changed over time, over these 13 months? Have you and Arvind Kejriwal, have you changed? Has that high command culture changed?
Shazia was very much our colleague in the party, a very valued colleague and a very senior colleague. She raised some questions. These were legitimate questions. We said to Shazia, just wait, we would have a national executive meeting, we will discuss all these questions. These are not illegitimate questions. But when I see the same Shazia with BJP, I've known Shazia as a feminist, I've known her as a secular person, I've known her as a person who thought communal forces like BJP should be, fighting them should be our first priority. When I see the same Shazia posing with Amit Shah with a photograph of Veer Savarkar in the background, I don't know what to say about that.
How do you feel?
I want to pick up a phone and say to Shazia, Shazia, did you see your own photograph? Did you see that photograph at the background? Did you really want to be here? Yes, you were annoyed with us. Yes, you had organizational issues. And I wouldn't say all your issues were wrong. But did it mean that you had to go over that side?
But Yogen, this is something that is voiced by a number of people, that decision making is centralized with Arvind Kejriwal.
Look, we've in a sense set for ourselves an impossible task. We want alternative politics, and we want it to be achieved overnight. We want it to be done in the very first election, and if we contest a national election, simply manage to register our presence, every one of you comes back and says you failed, you flopped, the party is over. So it's a very difficult and delicate path where you have to constantly retain viability while being different. And this has implications for internal decision-making structure. With so much emphasis on viability, you cannot have perfectly democratic decision-making structures.
If there was a long-term goal that the AAP is trying to achieve, what do you see it as? Do you see it as AAP trying to occupy the Congress space of gathering the less privileged, the Muslims, the Dalits? Is it that kind of a Congress space that you want to occupy? Do you ultimately want to become a new kind of a Congress?
I wouldn't call it the Congress space, but I would call it the oppositional space. The reason I would not call it the Congress space is because Congress style of secularism was fraudulent. Congress's way of gathering the poor was actually, damaged them. Congress style welfarism was economically just stupid. So we have to go beyond that. But in one sense, we want to occupy the space of the principal opposition, which is vacant right now. We have a government in power, you like it, you may not like it, but we don't have an opposition. The space, there is a vacuum there. And yes, I would like Aam Aadmi Party, not in the long run, but in the medium run, something like 4 to 5 years, to be the political force that occupies that space of the principal opposition. We cannot do that in Parliament. We have only 4 MPs, that too only in Lok Sabha. But the principal battle of the next 4.5 years will be fought not only inside the Parliament, but outside Parliament as well. We have one of the most powerful combination of centralized political leadership, of deep, strong ties with corporate bosses, and media, which is tied with it. The country has never witnessed this before. These are very difficult times, trying times for those who want to do politics, for those who want to do honest economic reforms, and for those like you who want to be honest journalists. These are trying times for us as well.
Right.
And in this time, we want Aam Aadmi Party to be that principles force of truth, even if that is inconvenient at this moment.
Right. What if you lose this election in Delhi? Is there a chance that the Aam Aadmi Party will disintegrate?
If we do as badly in this battle, for example, as we did in Lok Sabha, in Delhi, yes, it would seriously erode popular confidence in our viability. If we finish the way we think Congress will finish, then of course it would erode people's confidence in the fact that we can be a force to reckon with.
Right.
But if you have, someone is 10 seats ahead of you, someone is 10 seats behind you, someone is 3 points ahead, 4 points behind, etc. This is routine politics. For me, the real question is, we are a viable force in 2 states of India, Delhi and Punjab. Victory and losses apart, we are viable, we are one of the principal contenders. Politics cannot be imagined in these states without us right now.
How are you different? If you come to power this time, what kind of government will you give? Will it be different from the kind of government you gave 13 months ago?
Everyone learns, and new political players have no business not to learn. Yes, we have learned from our experience. We have learned that people have one set of expectations from you when you are in opposition. The day you sit in chief ministerial position or position of power, people do not forgive you for the very same thing that they encouraged you to do 4 days ago. Yes, we have learned that. We've also
You're not going to run away after 49 days.
That, in any case, we have said was an error of judgment. But it was an error of judgment driven by an ethical impulse. We said, here was our top promise. How can we go back to people without fulfilling this? We have learned that people expect a certain kind of delivery in governance. Above all, we have learned that people are willing to give you much more leeway than we were willing to give ourselves.
Right.
People were willing to wait. We thought they would not wait. We thought, bas muh khala hamara to kar denge. How is 48 hours, we have not been able to do so. It's 72 hours, we have not done few things. So there was, I think in some ways, a self-generated pressure.
Yogendra Yadav, you've been very candid and as insightful as ever. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Capital View with Yogendra Yadav. Come back again next week for another episode of Capital View on ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.